All right. Let's give everybody a minute to join the presentation. All right. Let's start with the presentation.
Okay.
Welcome, everyone, to our webinar today, where we're going to talk about simplifying logistics with Lobster data. Today, I will give a short introduction about myself and my colleague in this presentation, and one of our valued customers, Erik. So my name is Joris Aalbers. I'm an account manager for Lobster, and my focus within the company is to help our customers in the logistics sector, basically so that they can make the best use of the data they already have and integrate their current systems. And today I've invited Erik Blokland. Erik is working with NVO, and he's responsible for data integration within the NVO Group. And Erik, I would also like to ask you to give a short introduction about yourself, and after that we will continue with the agenda for today.
Yeah, sure. First of all, thanks for having me. I'm very happy to share my side of the story in the webinar today and be able to share with well the people that are attending on how we use Lobster in our daily lives, or at least in my daily life. As you always mentioned, I work for the NVO Group. I work for the NVO Group for the past 6 years now, and during the past 6 years, I spent my time setting up data integrations and working on some in-house development work from a more kind of project management side of the story. And I've been using Lobster data now since I believe a year or three, setting up various integrations with customers, internal integrations, and other third parties.
Thank you. Thanks for joining me today. And let's continue with the agenda for the webinar. So I will kick off by giving a brief overview of our company, Lobster, and then I will do a short live demo of our integration platform, Lobster Data. And after the demo, I will hand it over to Erik. So Erik can talk a bit more about NVO and what they do and how they use Lobster data as well. And at the end, we will have time to answer any questions from the public. So if you have any questions during the webinar, you will find the questions button in the screen, top right corner. So at any time, please post your questions there. And then my colleague Tobias will moderate the questions and I will answer them together with Erik.
Sounds good.
All right. So what does Lobster focus on and how do we view ourselves? So we are Lobster. We see ourselves as the intelligent data platform that enables your company to become a fully data-driven organization. So we power the entire data journey. So from integrations to comprehensive data management, and this allows you or your organization basically to leverage the data you already have and create valuable insights from that across your processes and across your application landscape. So what do you see here on this slide? At the right-hand side, you see our data-centric approach. So this focuses on connections between different systems. And next to that, on the quality of data, so the data management part, and the control and traceability of your information flows. Data is basically at the core of everything what we do. And at the left-hand side, you see the process-centric approach. So here the focus is on people, on processes, process modeling, and process automation. So we view people as part of the digital world, where we use user-friendly interfaces on top of existing landscapes to basically modernize them without having to replace existing tools. And the second part is process modeling, which is basically setting up the conditions. So, for instance, if X happens, then do Y. And the last part is about process automation, which is making everything happen in a consistent way. So you might think, Joris, this is a really cool story, and I definitely recognize some of these terms and cases. But how does Lobster actually help to simplify this for us in practice? Well, let me introduce you to the Lobster way. At the core of the Lobster way is delivering a superior user experience, and this is reflected throughout our company and our products. And therefore, we provide our customers with no-code solutions that are simple and easy in their use. And our product stack, you can see here on the slide, and this ranges from PIM tools, which focus on data management, from product information management, and towards the logistics cloud tooling. A bit more about logistics cloud. This is our basically partner network where a lot of our customers are connected to. And next month we have an in-depth webinar about supply chain management with logistics cloud. So if that's an interesting topic for you, stay tuned to our social media channels for more information. To build business applications and portals, we have Lobster Pro. So with Lobster Pro, you can build interfaces using a what you see is what you get style editor, and you can use business logic to automate your processes. And our focus of today will be on Lobster Data, our no-code data and system integration platform. Well, before we dive into Lobster Data, let me tell you a bit more where Lobster comes from and who we are. So Lobster, we were founded in 2002 in Germany, and our headquarters is still located in Germany in the beautiful Tutzing. And since then, we have expanded and grown inside the DACH region, but also in Europe. So currently, we have hubs in the Benelux, France, the UK, and the Nordics as well. We have currently more than 2,500 customers and a team of 300 people. And part of our team is a centralized support desk, which is located in Germany, that can help you with any questions regarding our products. And our support is in English and also in German for our German customers. Then we also have technical consultants in every country that speak the local language. So we historically, Lobster started in the world of logistics and EDI, and we have a large number of logistics customers, perhaps some also joining today, and we have a lot of experience in the field of logistics. Over time, when moving to different industries such as retail and manufacturing, which you can also see some of our customers in this slide, we have become a more broad integration platform. All right, let's get back to Lobster data. So what does Lobster data, our no-code integration platform, actually do, and when can you use it? So in the middle, you see the beautiful circle, and this is basically the essence of any integration, which are communication protocols and file formats. And Lobster data supports a wide range of communication protocols and formats, which allow it to basically connect to any tool or system in the market. And because of this, Lobster data can be used for many different use cases, which you see on the left and right hand side of the slide. So we started out in the logistics field and are very well known for our EDI capabilities, but that's not the only thing that we do. So next to that, Lobster is used for API management, and this can be either to connect internal systems with each other, or that's yeah, towards the outside, towards your customers or suppliers or partners. And you can even set up your own API for them with Lobster if that's something you are interested in. We also offer out of the box packages and solutions, and Erik will tell a little bit more about that later on during his presentation. An example that Erik will highlight is the CargoWise package. So you can also connect databases, work with big data, so ETL, connect with sensors for IoT, and much more. So with Lobster data, you can ensure that you have basically the right data at the right place at the right time. That's the essence of the story. And let me give you a example how a simple integration might look like. And I will also show you in the live demo a little bit more about that later on. So normally you have system A, which Lobster data receives information from. Then in Lobster data, you have a mapping from your input data structure to your target structure. And with Lobster data, you can ensure that the yeah, right mapping is being made and the right format is being outputted. And then you send it over to another system. So I'll show you a bit more later on in the demo. The question I mostly get after this slide is, so how does your model look like? Is it SaaS? Does it work in the cloud? Can you connect to our on-premise tools? These are all questions our customers and prospects ask from us. So let me tell you a bit more about that. So the answer is basically yes, we can deliver however you like. We have multiple delivery and service models that fit your company needs. And next to that, we have also a very large partner network that is experienced with Lobster data. So let me give you some examples. For example, if your ERP system is on-premise, then we can do an on-prem installation of Lobster data. If you have a cloud-first strategy, we can install Lobster in your cloud environment. We also provide our Lobster cloud environment, or you can make use of the cloud of one of your partners. So there really any situation that you need is possible regarding installation and setup of Lobster. Yeah, so what's important to tell about Lobster and partners as well is that both of us have good consultants with a fast delivery. We have updates and patching. We have SLA and user support. We support with installation. We can even help you with configuring integrations, and partners can do this as well. So on top of that, our partners can also provide you with additional features such as monitoring and managed service options, meaning that the partner can basically handle everything for you without you having to worry about anything regarding data integration. And partners can also serve for you as a one-stop shop, and they can advise you on a broader perspective than Lobster can. All right. Oh, first let's go to the live demo. Let me check if I can reshare my screen. Mm, I'll start up the tool, 1 second. All right. So here you see the demo environment of our integration platform, Lobster Data. So I want to show you a bit high over some of the user friendliness of our platform and how it looks like and what you can do with it in a high over view. So here we see a basically a starting dashboard. There's some information on which server Lobster is installed, if there are any errors, if there's jobs running, if there are how many profiles there are in use. And I will dive a bit deeper into what profiles are. So we call a data integration flow a Lobster profile. So I'm going to make a new profile and then guide you through how that actually looks like. So I've just created a completely new profile, and in the top you already see the flow, the data integration flow. And first I will give you a high over explanation of what each phase is, and then we can dive a bit deeper into some of these phases. So it starts with the main settings. You can give your profile name. You can already select the type of document that is incoming. So for example, XML. You can set up your error handling in the main settings. I will not dive too deep into that part, but I will go more towards the other phases. Phase one is about the communication protocol, which is basically the start of your profile, the trigger of your profile. Phase two is about parsing your file format. Phase three is about the mapping from your input structure to your target structure. And here you can also enrich your data and transform your data. Phase four is optional if you want to connect to databases. And phase five is creating the actual file to send over to your target system. And in phase six, you basically determine how are you going to send this file, so via which communication protocol again, which we highlighted a bit earlier in the slides. All right, let's zoom in to phase one. So here you can define the trigger for your profile. We make a distinction between event-based and scheduled. So with event-based, Lobster is basically the server and is waiting for one of your systems to send a message towards it, and then Lobster picks that up and processes it further. So that's really the start of your integration flow. And a good example of an event-based trigger is a post from a post to Lobster with API. Then we also have the scheduled way, and that's basically Lobster being the client and extracting data from a certain tool. Can be either a database, can be a GET request, can be from an FTP server. So here are a lot of options as well to start off your integration flow. In phase two, we have a parsing option for your file format, and this automatically adjusts to the selected file format. And the most interesting part is phase three. So this is our mapping engine, basically. And here I can create a structure from a file. So let me do that right away. And I have here a very simple order. And on the other side, I will also create a structure from a file. So this will be the target system, let's say. And let's say your target system works with JSON files. So you can already see it's quite easy to upload files and upload the structure of your system basically into Lobster data, which makes it easy to do the following step, which is mapping the files and the fields. So for this demo, I've kept them, the structure is quite similar. In practice, the left side is often very different to the right side, of course. So let me map some fields. So here we map from the left side to the right side some of the fields, which are a sender ID, receiver ID, and a purchase order number. And this is basically a one-to-one mapping. So you simply drag and drop a field from the left to the right. And we also have a lot of functions. So we have more than 500 functions in different categories. And here you can use them to transform your data and also enrich your data. So you can use this to call APIs in between or call databases in between. Next to that, let me give you an example. So here's a create and format date function, for example. Let's say we have here a document date. I can map that. Then I can add a function towards that field. And as you can see, it's no code. So you fill in the fields, but you don't actually have to program anything. And if you have any questions, so if you're not sure how a function works, then we have an extensive help function, which basically loads like the full documentation of Lobster data, and every field and every function that we have is fully documented. And then towards phase 5, so now you have defined your mappings, your logic, your functions, and then you create a new file. For example, the JSON that you want to send out to your system, your second system, and then you define here the communication protocol which you want to use to send it away again. And that's in short the high over the Lobster data integration flow. And yeah, if you really want to dive deeper into this, we can of course always talk further. But let me hand it over towards Erik about how NVO does all of this and how their company works.
Sure. Thank you. I'll share my screen. I see some questions coming in. We'll get back to that at the end of the webinar during the Q&A. All right. You can see my screen, Joris?
Yeah, looks good.
Okay. I'll give a very short introduction about who we are as the NVO Group. The NVO Group is a one-stop shop for all neutral transportation services, and through the various business units within the group, we basically handle all the activities within the logistics supply chain while staying neutral. And being neutral means that we don't engage in retail or any direct sales to shippers and consignees, but instead we serve other freight forwarders and other logistics companies. So whether you need help with your ocean freight, your air freight, warehousing, or customs clearance, we basically got you covered, and we do that from our offices located at the main ports throughout Western Europe in various countries. Um, the NVO Group, as mentioned, consists out of multiple business units: NVO Consolidation, NWS Shipping, NFL Aviation, LLD Customs, and DLC Warehousing. And each business unit has its own specialty and handles its own part of the business. Two business units handle ocean freight, NFL air freight, NLD custom clearance, and DLC the warehousing part. And within the NVO Group, we follow the best of breed practice. That results in the fact that each business unit handles its own specific operations within an own operating system. And each software application is chosen because it excels at performing a specific function that fits the needs of that business unit, giving us a high level of specialization and excellence. Well, at the same time, the best of breed practice comes with the challenge of integrating multiple software applications from different vendors. And to avoid that the data that we manage throughout the group hasn't or isn't being entered manually at every single application, it's very important for us to have data integrations between the business units to make sure that the processes stay effective and efficient, especially considering our slightly complex landscape of software applications. And to make sure that we properly handle the integrations between the different applications, we use a middleware. Um, we used to have a middleware that we developed ourselves in-house. We called it Data Transform, and our Data Transform middleware platform was a very simplistic middleware. It did the trick for us at the time, at least, but it's certainly had its limitations. Um, it was an in-house developed middleware. That means that any change to the middleware required development time, and that was time that our development team couldn't spend on any other of the software applications that we develop in house that actually directly serve our customers, like a customer portal, for example. And that really restricted us in setting up the actual data integrations with customers or other parties. It also came with limitations in efficiency. We made the mappings using XSLT. XSLT is a language that we use to transform basically one XML file into the other XML file. But that made the process quite cumbersome because we had one developer that was specialized in creating XSLT mappings. That basically meant that I was preparing a mapping in an Excel sheet. So I was saying, okay, this is the source file, this is the target file. In Excel, I was linking the dots and I was making a description. Then the developer, based on that description, actually made the mapping. Then I had to do functional testing. Then if something went wrong, it went back to the developer. And well, you can imagine that that process of creating a data integration is far from ideal. And besides that, we had a limited amount of supported file formats. So XSLT is really based on XML to XML. Well, XML to XML is a large part of the data that we handle, but we also sometimes got other requests, and those requests couldn't be supported out of the box. We needed other libraries that had to be implemented. It was far from ideal. We knew that. We knew that at the time, and we knew that going towards the future, we would run into more limitations regarding new integrations with other parties. So at some point, we came to the conclusion that it became time for a change, and that is the moment that we started to check different applications, middleware applications like MuleSoft, Stylus Studios, and Lobster Data in our case. And after the comparison, we ended up integrating or implementing Lobster Data. And ever since, all the data integrations that we have within the group run through Lobster. Um, for us, Lobster gives us a quicker turnaround time simply because of the fact that since it's a no-code platform, I can do the full integration myself. So based on an operational question or an integration question that in our case always comes from the operational department, I can set up the integration and taking away one person out of the equation, our developer, it's like a win-win situation. I can handle it everything from A to Z, and the developer can simply do his job on another software application at the same time. Besides that, we have, well, Joris, you showed it already in the beginning. We have many more file formats that are being supported, far more than we actually use. But we use XML, Edifact, JSON, and X12 as an example in our current integrations, which is something that we well, we might have been able to do it ourselves, but it would have taken a lot of time from our developers to integrate that in our own in-house developed middleware at the time. In Lobster, we implemented Lobster and it was there, it was available, we could use it, it was directly available. And I wrote down as the final point that for us, it gives us unlimited integration possibilities. Of course, I know that there are limitations in Lobster data, but so far it meets all our requirements. And for us, for me personally, it really feels like there are no limits to what is possible in Lobster, at least not for now. So what that basically means, and I think this slide reflects a little bit on what Joris just showed us in Lobster itself. We use a mapping using a profile. So one data mapping is being created via a profile. Within the profile, you can use functions, as Joris shared, and calculation fields to basically transform the data into any form that you would like. In any way, you have a source file. The source file is your input and defines the source structure. The source structure is being transformed. You have a target structure on the other hand, which is the structure that you would like the target file to become. And in the end, if you combine everything together, you receive the file. You throw it through Lobster. There's a target file that you eventually send to an API, a web service, or an FTP location to be handled in an application on the other end. One profile in our case is often equal to one data integration. In very complex setups, it can occur that for one data integration from A to Z, you require more than one profile. But that is only the case when you have, for example, one source file that you want to create multiple different output files in. And in that case, and some complex other cases, you might need more than one profile for your integration. But in general, I think 95% of our mappings is being handled within one profile, maybe even more. We do that for ourselves. So as mentioned, we have multiple business units, we have multiple applications, and having this specific particular setup and company structure, it requires us to make integrations between the different business units. You can imagine that when you have an LCL ocean freight shipment from NVO consolidation that requires a custom clearance and that is being unloaded at our warehouse, it would be quite cumbersome to enter the shipping information manually in the 3 different applications that we are using for that process within the group. So NVO, NLD, and DLC all use the same information, but within the different applications. And therefore, we use data integrations to optimize that process. Besides the optimization of the process and then mainly the efficiency, it was also very nice to see that there was a decrease in the error percentage that we had in our files. The manual input that we had throughout the business units resulted, or at some point, manual entry results in some mistakes being made. And we saw a clear difference that after implementing the data integrations, that the error percentage decreased significantly. That was actually nicer to see than the efficiency gain, which you notice less right out of the box. Well, the same situation can be given between our business unit and our customers. If we take NVO consolidation as an example again, it's a business unit that handles ocean freight, that works with freight forwarders that also handle ocean freight for their customers. And so basically the data that we require to have in our system is often the same or similar as at least a part of the data that our customers actually have in their systems. In fact, they often even use the same operating system to handle those files. And so at least for a part of it, it would be a shame to not handle that data automatically if we can. And removing the manual data entry on both our side, but also on the side of our customers, gave us the ability to share the data in a more efficient and time effective way. And it gives us, for example, the opportunity to send job numbers directly back to the customer so that they can continue their process simply based on a reference file that they need from us. And that increases the satisfaction on our customer side, I think, within their process. You mentioned the out-of-the-box solution, Joris, and as we use CargoWise, CargoWise is the largest operating system in the freight forwarding business, and I think many logistics companies use CargoWise. And with the expertise that Lobster had in the logistics company, that comes with the benefit that we don't always need to reinvent the wheel, in some cases at least. And in this particular example, we had CargoWise, and CargoWise works with a rather complex outgoing data flow, and the data flow is being handled through a so-called e-adapter outbound service. We wanted to have that e-adapter outbound service integrated within Lobster, but the complexity of that service was impossible for us to create ourselves. I looked at it, I gave up very quickly. It was way too technical for me myself. Our developer looked at it as well, but he also couldn't get it fixed. So eventually we asked the question to Lobster, and Lobster, we didn't even expect it, came back to us like, we have a fixed solution for it. It requires 2 profiles, and then you can handle all the messages out of CargoWise directly into Lobster, and then from Lobster to your different, third parties or internal business units. So in the end, I think it required a meeting of 2 hours with a technical guy on the side of Lobster who configured everything for us in our Lobster data solution. And it ran, it worked, and it works ever since. We never had any issues with it, and it was very happy to sometimes have a solution that you don't need to come up with yourself. And in this case, it was a very nice solution. Then to finalize my part of the story, I would like to share a little bit of insights about the Lobster support. I think Joris, you quickly mentioned it. It is based in Germany, and it talks German and English. I don't talk German. So I'm very happy that they have an English response as well. But in my position and with the applications that we use within our company, I'm very often, more often than I like, actually in contact with customer support departments. And more than once, a customer support department creates a bit of friction. You know, you ask a question, you don't get the response that you want, or you ask a question and 3 days later they reply to you with something that you cannot really use. And that is often the experience that I have dealing with multiple different support departments from IT related companies. And from the moment that we implemented Lobster and being in contact with their support department, the level of support is really outstanding. I think I mentioned it to Jim, Joris' boss, I believe, who was in contact with us in the beginning after implementing. I mentioned to him, like, I never experienced a support department that responds so quickly and that gives such accurate answers directly from the start. And that is really nice to see. And I think if I had to give one point of which I'm very satisfied about, besides the fact of how Lobster works for us and that everything is possible, sometimes there are cases that we simply cannot get to the solution ourselves. Everything is possible, but sometimes things can become very complex because of the situation that you have in your integration. And then there's one very simple solution, that is that you export your profile, you give some context, you send it to the support department, and they give a very detailed and very clear explanation on how you can get to the required outcome. And that has helped me a lot. along the way. And in fact, I had one case that I was dealing with last week actually. I submitted the ticket. I checked the date and the time because I was preparing this as well. I submitted the support ticket at 5 minutes past 5 in the afternoon, and I got the initial response, including some explanation, at a quarter past 8 in the morning the next day. I wasn't even at the office yet, and I could already continue my mapping. And for me, that is really nice to have, and I think that is something that makes Lobster stand out from a different IT company in the field. And on that note, I think I would like to hand over the word to Joris again, and maybe answer some questions.
Thank you for the compliment. I already saw some reactions in the chat as well. So that's very nice to hear. Thanks, Erik. And
You're welcome.
Tobias, you will moderate the questions in the chat, and then me and Erik will try to answer them as best as we can.
Yes, so we have a question coming in from Yenan, who is asking, is the mapping method target data mapping or source data mapping?
All right. So I think this is in response to the phase 3 I have shown earlier in the live demo. So maybe it's best if I share my screen again.
Yeah, I think if I understand the question correctly, it is actually a combination of both. So as Joris showed, you can define the source structure, so the structure of your file as you receive it from your customer, for example, and you define the target structure on how you want the outcome to be, and then you create the mapping between the source and between the target, making sure that the target has a structure that you can deal with in the way that you need to process it for further on in your flow.
Thanks, Erik. I think that answers the question. All right. Next one, I guess. So I think that's the one. How does Lobster deal with high amounts of data? I think it's about like the high amounts of volumes of data or big amounts of data, big data. So there's some parts to answer that question actually. First of all, it depends on the installation. So the installation is done on a server, of course, and a server has multiple CPU threads. And so Lobster can work with multiple threads at the same time. So multiple jobs in Lobster can be handled at the same time, depending on the CPUs you have available, basically. And can we handle big data as well? Answer is yes. We have options for ETL, ELT. So that means basically we have a reader that can, let me explain a bit more. So we have a difference between the normal Lobster profiles and ETL profiles. So normal Lobster profiles, they load the entire document in memory and then process it basically, where the ETL profiles, they read the incoming data row by row. So if you have really large files, then you can process them that way, which is quite faster than loading it fully into memory first. So that's an option to explain to that answer question. What else is important? Yeah, I think if you talk about our model, so our license model basically, then we work with profiles. So our license model is based on profiles, and yeah, we don't charge for any volume or amount of data you send over to those profiles. So that might be interesting depending on your use case. Do you have anything to add to that, Erik?
Oh, the only thing is that Lobster is installed on a server. For us, it's a cloud server. We can easily upgrade the cloud server, which gives us additional CPU if needed. We never had any issues. All our data runs through Lobster. And whenever we see the CPU going up, we take note of it and we can upgrade. So I think we upgraded once before, but even then we didn't have any issues in the actual data flow. So.
Thank you.
Yeah, and then
Next one is, oh, sorry, Tobias.
no worries. So it's kind of Rex asking again, can Lobster combine multiple data sources into one flow?
Yeah, good question. The answer is yes. So there are multiple ways how to do that. So if you look at the Lobster profile, then in your target structure, using functions, you can, for example, call databases or call another API to basically enrich your data. And what you can do as well is you can call a completely different Lobster profile. So if you have multiple processes which are a bit more difficult, or you work with, for example, a profile that kicks off a certain process and then has to send it towards other profiles for further processing, you could basically make a chain of profiles to do it that way. So yeah, for sure there are options to map multiple sources within Lobster.
And then Rex is asking again, how does the pricing model work?
Yeah, pricing model is quite straightforward. So what I said before as well, we work with Lobster profiles. So it starts with a starter edition, and it scales up to a business edition and enterprise edition. So our pricing is basically only based on profiles. So it's very simple and also very scalable and predictable in what it's going to cost. I think that's the essence of our pricing model. Um, what do you think about that, Erik? How does it work for a customer from a customer perspective?
Yeah, super straightforward. The nice part is that you're not restricted or you don't have any variable charges based on the amount of data that flows through it. I think that's the most important for us. Um, um, at the moment that we have used the amount of profiles that are within our license, we can simply upgrade by an additional set of profiles and we can continue creating mappings again. And that's it.
Yeah,
Transparent
and
and
yeah, I
fixed.
think if you want to know more, then let's get in contact. You can contact our local sales department for that, and we'll provide you information.
Edwin is asking, we have to use client portals to import and/or export data. Is Lobster able to receive data from our ERP system, open a client portal, log in, go to the correct RFQ, or fill in all the terms automatically?
Yeah, that's a good question. So the first part, I think for sure that depends on your ERP system and how they're able to send out data, of course. So I think most modern tools they are able to use an API, but it really depends on your ERP system. I think the second part of the question is more towards RPA, so robotic process automation, and Lobster is not an RPA tool, so we don't have a robot that can take actions for you, basically. Um, so that's I think answers the question. But you can definitely fill your system with data if you have options to connect with, for example, an API. Then you can definitely fill your system with data in that way. Um, maybe you have anything else to add to this, Erik?
No, we don't use RPA. You can use, of course, Lobster to read into a database directly via a database connection, or using an API, or using any outside message flow that you can pick up from an FTP location or whatsoever. So I think picking up the data is fine. The rest of the equation or the question we don't use, so I cannot really comment on that.
Rex is asking, how does it work if you have multiple suppliers with the same file but want to receive it different?
Yeah. Okay, I think I understand.
Mm.
So basically, if you look at Lobster, you receive one type of source data, and then you want to send the same kind of file towards different customers. And you can do this using variables in Lobster. So you can define a variable, for example, customer in phase 3, and then in phase 6, you can select that variable as a dependency and define how you want to send your data away. So maybe it's good to share my screen a little bit for this one, because it's quite abstract if I hear myself talking. um, so let's say you have here one of the fields would be variable customer. Then you can create here a variable and assign that variable in your target structure. Then once you're in phase 6, so the sending out phase, then you can see here you can make actually multiple responses. So I'm creating now one response. So you see here as well that this is response 1, so the first response. And here you can define all the settings for that response. So let's say you can, if you're using HTTP, you can define the URL, headers, username, password, or you can work with channels or certificates that you can set up in your administration. And then in the third tab, you can see already the dependencies. So here you can say, I only want to send out this response to this specific customer if the customer variable is the value of customer A or customer B, for example. So I hope that makes it a bit more clear. And
Yeah,
so now,
then
oh, sorry, yeah, this is only done the first response, but you can make a lot of responses. I think, yeah, you can make an unlimited amount of responses if you would want to. And then you can yeah, assign different customers using a variable. So yeah, thank you for the question.
then Yenan is saying a demo of, oh sorry, a demo to map multiple fields from one loop of source data to different loops of target data would be greatly appreciated.
A demo to map multiple fields from one loop of source data to different loops of target data. Oh yeah, okay, that's a clear question. I think we can show a little bit more about that. Let me share my screen again. Apologies, I just closed it again. All right, so I think what you mean is how do you work with loops, basically. So if you go to phase 3, then here you see a repeating item. So in this XML order, the simple demo order, I know in the actual XML there are 6 items. So if you want to work with repeating items, then you can use the node level in Lobster. So here we have 2 nodes, so the items node and the item node. And then you can map some of these fields. So I'll map the first 2 fields. And if you then test your mapping, yeah, test mapping, then here you see in your output that it takes actually all the repeating items towards your output. So all these 6 items in this case. And I've mapped, of course, only the first two values, so the other values are empty for now and not mapped yet. And if you're talking about looping through your items in this case, you can use logical functions. So, for example, if A equals B, then do this. So, for example, if the supplier or the buyer number is a certain number, then I want to include it in my output. So you can add a lot of logic to your nodes. I think that's the simple answer. Maybe Erik has some more in-depth answer than I can give. I don't know.
No, I think that covers about it. If you want different target loops, then you can create different nodes as well in your target structure, um, and use the A equals B function, for example, to come up with a different outcome per loop. But I think then we go really into the detail of the mapping. Maybe that's not for now.
Yeah, then if you want to know more about this, then we can, of course, set up another meeting indeed. Yeah.
Greg is asking,
Or
how does Lobster secure sensitive data?
yeah, that's a good question. So we have yeah. Let's start with the beginning. So it depends, of course, where you install Lobster. That's the first part. So if you install Lobster on one of your own on-premise service or in a cloud service, that's already one of the sensitive security data questions. So it really depends on where you install it. Good to know that Lobster itself does not have access to your data that's being sent over profiles. Also, we basically use the latest standards for example, API, like OAuth, for example, um, security protocols. I think that's the most important one. We are ISO certified. That's also, I think, related to security. Um, on top of my head, I cannot think of anything else so quickly. How do you perceive that? Do you have any additions to that, Erik, on the security part?
No, I put all my faith in you guys. No, I'm not sure.
No, yeah, if you want to go more into detail, I can explain a bit more, or one of my colleagues can explain a bit more in a follow-up.
Then Tobias is saying, hi, Joris and Erik. Thank you for a nice presentation. My question is, Erik,
Thank you.
did you achieve to export invoices from CargoWise and the eDocs as well? Thanks.
Yeah, you can use the eAdapter outbound service to export the invoices using the XUT, the Universal Transaction XML, and you can include eDocs as well if you use the EDI message profiles from the top of my head. You can use Lobster to send, receive documents in PDF without any issue. We use that in multiple ways. So yeah.
Thank you.
Then Gert is asking, does Lobster have an AI engine to read and interfere an input file?
Yeah, good question. So we are definitely looking into AI to improve our products. So one of the recent additions to our system is the AI chatbot. So we have basically all the information and from our documentation and information that our support team has set up has been implemented in the chatbot. So you can ask questions like, which function do I need for this and that? And part of that strategy, an upcoming feature will be indeed to use AI to automate mappings to a certain degree. But that's not a function that's live at the moment. So this is something that's on our roadmap.
Then we have another question from Tobias. Do you know any way to speed up the workflow with the SQL database? We are creating tender for our customer, and for tender is, but it takes around 30 minutes or more to create each file. Thanks.
I'm not sure if I understand it correctly.
From who is the question? Sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I see it. You're creating tender for a customer to easy. If you know what goes in a tender and you know how it goes into your tender easy software platform, yeah, you could automate the data flow, but it really depends on what the requirements are in the process. If you have access to an SQL database and you have the right option into your SQL database, you can write data into that database. But yeah, I don't know tender easy. Not sure what is possible. But yeah, you can work with data and you can change some information here and there in the way that you need it to receive in your platform. So that could be possible, but that really depends on your system.
Yeah, I think we
Then
would have to look a little bit more into detail what the system actually can do, because I also don't know it from the top of my head. So yeah.
Yeah.
Then Yinan is asking, what if sequences is not in order?
Not sure if I understand that one. So I think this is about how your data structure is ordered. Maybe you understand it better than I do, Erik.
Yeah, we sometimes deal with sequences in our mappings where the output needs a certain order to be processed into a system. For example, if you receive an invoice and the invoice has references per line and you want to sort the references alphabetically, you can very simply do that. I think it's below the target field node. Scrolling down, you can select a field in which you want to order the output file. That is indeed what you need. You can simply select it and it will order it from high to low or from A to B, A to Z.
Okay.
Yeah, I think you need to select a node. I'm not 100% sure.
You have to select a node. Okay. Select node. So it should be one of these functions, sort field, I guess then. Yeah, sorting. Oh, yeah. Okay. Good to know. Thanks.
Yeah.
Then Yinan is thanking you for your presentation. And then
Thank you.
Greg is asking, can you create custom Java functions to use in Lobster?
Yeah, very good question. You can actually. So we have expertise within our company to help you with that. It's not part of our standard support, but we can definitely help you to set up your own functions. Side note, Lobster has that many functions that actually almost none of our customers use custom functions. So it should be covering most of your needs, what's already there.
Yeah, maybe nice to add. We used to have custom Java functions when using our in-house developed middleware. We don't use them anymore right now. We handle everything within the Lobster mappings using the functions. So for us, it's not needed.
Good to hear.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you really require it, it is possible if you really require it. But in most cases, it's not needed indeed. All right, I think that's the end of the all the questions. We're a little bit over time, so let's wrap it up. Thank you very much, Erik, for joining this session, and Tobias for moderating it, and thanks everybody for joining. And the interactive part at the end was really great. So thank you for your questions. If you want to know more, we have a webinar upcoming next month. And so if you keep track of our LinkedIn page, then there will be a supply chain management webinar next month. So please take a look into that if that's interesting. And then we'll dive deeper into our logistics cloud solution. All
Sounds
right.
good. Thank you.
Sounds good. Bye-bye.
Have a nice day.
You too. Bye-bye.